everybody, my name's Toni and I'm here with the Everyday Counts program, and we have an hour together for yoga. So gather everything you need and take a seat wherever it is that you choose to start. No right and wrong. If you prefer to start in a chair, go ahead. Any amount of settling in that you need. And when you're ready, take a full breath in. Exhale, allowing yourself to rest into that support underneath you. And as you rest into that support, feel free to soften your gaze, lower your gaze, or even close your eyes if you're comfortable in the space you're in. And turn your awareness into this moment as you're seated. Allow yourself to feel your day, either that's already happened or what's to come, or a little bit of both. Allow that to slide off your shoulders. For this time in your practice, there's nothing that needs to be figured out, nothing that you need to focus on, other than moment by moment your own experience. So give yourself permission to be here and not figuring anything else out as you settle in. Starting to tune in and just notice how it is that you're feeling today. Notice what's on your mind, what's in your heart, and also how your body's feeling. And as you notice these things, be aware of places in your body or that you need to take extra care of, or if there's other areas emotionally, mentally, that you need to be gentle with yourself. If there's a lot of negative in a dialogue, without any story, just notice, just be aware. And accept it all, invite it all into this moment. The more we resist something, the more it tends to persist. So as we settle into this moment and invite everything in that is present, start to bring your awareness to your breath. Maybe inviting breath in and out through the nose, if that's comfortable for you. And if it's not, no big deal. Allow your breath to be part of that settling in as we lengthen and steady it. And notice the flow of the breath, how the inhale glides into the exhale and how the exhale smooths itself into the inhale. And even at the brief top and the bottom of the breath where we have those gentle pauses, it's part of the cycle of flow of the breath. Notice distractions that come up as they will, mind, heart, body, and a whole lot of other things, from our external world. And every time something comes up, bring it back to that flow of the breath, the continuous flow of breath. The inhale and exhale follow each other. And with that, we'll root down into our seat and lift up from there, lengthening, finding that length through our body. Allow the shoulder blades to softly settle towards each other, softening through the shoulders themselves. And with the very tip of your nose, guided by that continuous flow of breath, we'll start to create figure of eights at the very tip of your nose. And each of us will come to this differently, with a different experience of our body, what feels good to us, how our breath is. So allow it to be your experience. That continuous flow of breath, guiding the continuous flow of movement, those figure of eights. And noticing places in that movement that feel less easy than others, but also notice the parts of that movement that do feel more comfortable to you. Allow the movement to get slower or faster depending on what feels good, bigger, smaller, or stay just as it is. When you're ready, at the end of your next exhale, we'll pause and take those figure of eights round in an opposite direction. You can keep your gaze lowered, softened, close your eyes if you like. If you're feeling dizzy in any way, fix your gaze in front of you. And continue with that movement. You can always rest. You can always change up that movement to feel better for you. If there's a place you want to stay in because that feels good, go ahead. Otherwise, another 2. And then at the end of that, we'll come back to center. Right hand dangles, and then with that right shoulder, figure of 8 through the right shoulder. Continuous breath, continuous movement. And again, it's going to look different for each and every one of us. We're put together differently. We move differently. Our breath is different. It's never going to be the same for 2 people. So there's not a particular way this has to be or look or a cadence you have to stick to. Trying to find the movement with the most ease, blended with the breath. And then when you're ready, we'll pause and take those figure of 8s round in the opposite direction. And that might feel more comfortable or less easeful. And try and stay away from the story and just experience the movement, giving yourself permission to shift and change it as you feel you need to. 2 more. And coming back to center. Left shoulder, figure of 8s. And this may feel very different, or your awareness may be expanding. Keep within the flow of the breath. The flow of the breath, the flow of the movement. And then when you're ready, we'll take that in the opposite direction. Figure of eights. Bigger, smaller, rest if you want to. Imagine the movement if that feels better for you in this moment. Another 2. And then from here, coming back to stillness. If you crossed your legs or sitting in a particular way, you could mix it up a little bit. Hands towards or on the knees, and we're going to start to circle in one direction. Again, the flow of the breath guiding the flow of the movement. Inhaling and exhaling. Smoothing the breath, smoothing the movement as best as we can. Make it your own, and then we'll take it round in the opposite direction. Get your hips, your shoulders, your head and neck involved if that feels good to you. Circling round in the flow of the breath, that continuous flow. And then coming back to stillness, continuous flow of breath, and notice how it feels having moved a little. If you're seated in a chair and want to stay for seated cat and cow, then go ahead. Otherwise, we're coming over onto our knees, hands and knees. Take any softness underneath you that you'd like. Spreading your foundation wide, drawing the belly in, drawing the back of the heart up, and the head is neutral. Coming back to that flow of breath. And then on the next exhale, pushing into the foundation, roll the back of the ribs up towards the sky. That's the exhale. Gaze can come down towards the knees or in towards the belly button. On the inhale, dropping the belly, lifting the gaze, extension of the spine. The exhale is, of course, the flexion. Notice if you're hanging out in one particular place here, and see if you can allow the movement to be free-flowing where there's very little stillness. A brief pause at the top and the bottom of the breath. But the entire inhale is the movement into extension, and the entire exhale is moving into flexion. Notice how this feels in your body. From here, coming up to center, readjusting your foundation. If you need to, you can always come down to forearms. And then from here, we're going to start to take the right hip back towards the right heel, over to the left, and then we're coming forward. So figure of eights, taking the hips back in a circle, and then the shoulders. So right hip, right wrist, left wrist. Moving yourself within this in your own way. And then we're going to go around in the opposite direction when you're ready. So coming forward over the left wrist, left hip, right hip. And if there's another movement that feels better for you, then go ahead. That continuous movement. The breath matched with the movement of the body. And coming up to center, readjusting yourself. And then from here, I'm going to move the shoulders forward and turn one hand out to the side and back towards you. Maybe just the fingertips come down. Moving the shoulders forward will make it easier. Maybe the heel of the hand comes down. And again, the more forward your shoulders are from your wrists, the easier this is going to be to bring more sensation. We're drawing the hips back just millimeters, opening up through the wrist, through the carpal tunnel. Staying within a place where the breath is steady. Again, can always come forward of that wrist using the opposite hand to support you. Staying within the flow of the breath. And when you're ready, we're drawing the shoulders forward again, supporting yourself with the opposite hand and bringing the hand back to support. Opposite hand. So, drawing forward, and then we're taking the opposite hand around and back. Maybe the fingertips come to the floor, maybe the wrist does, maybe you're bringing your shoulders way forward. And the option here is to incrementally consider drawing your hips back millimeter by millimeter, opening up through the wrist, the carpal tunnel, supporting yourself as you need to. Stay within the flow of the breath. Always come out early if you need to. And then the shoulders come way forward. Release that hand, coming back to support. Any ease into your body, go ahead. Notice how that feels. And then we're drawing the knees closer in towards each other and drawing the right foot forward. Give it a little help. Adjust the right foot out towards the side of your mat. And then when you're ready, hands come up onto that thigh and we're coming all the way up. Any support you need to, softness under that left knee, please go ahead. And the toes can be tucked or untucked, your choice. From here, just shifting and moving your body into a place that it feels comfortable for you. Playing with the pelvis here as we tuck and untuck the pelvis, coming to a place of neutrality, rooting down to rise. Root down into your foundation. Fix your gaze somewhere ahead of you. Great place to be. This is already quite challenging, a balanced pose. If you want to add on, you're going to take those hands out in front of you, palms to the ceiling, and draw the fingertips up, so we're bending the elbows here. This is the inhale. On the exhale, I'm going to take that right arm, open and back. That's the exhale. Inhaling to center. Exhaling, coming out towards the side. Right shoulder blades draws into the back body and coming back to center. So we're twisting here. Keeping the hips facing forward. The twist is coming through the spine. You can take that gaze with you. Keep the flow of the breath. One more. Coming back to center. Hands come down to the thighs. Take a breath in. Exhale here. Option, drawing the hands up overhead. Hands can come towards each other, palms. You can interlace the hands. Let go of the first fingers if you like, and draw that up towards the sky. So there's a length through the whole body. The softer your elbows are, the easier it is in the shoulders. You get to decide. Steady the breath. Stay within the flow. Flow of breath. Option to start to soften the gaze. Close the eyes, root down to the foundation, and lift from there. You get another 2 breaths. Stay within the flow of the breath, within the stillness of the movement. And on an exhale, releasing the hands down, opening the eyes if they were closed. Hands come down, and we're releasing the right leg. Any movement you need in your body to release tension, go ahead. And then the left foot comes forward, patting the right knee as you need to, adjusting your foundation to suit you. And then when you're ready, hands up onto the left leg, and up we come. Always making adjustments for your body. From there, shifting forward and back. And again, this gives you the opportunity to feel into your body, moving within the flow of breath, and then coming to a place that feels sustainable, playing with the tilt of the pelvis, noticing how that changes things, and then coming to a neutral place between the anterior and posterior tilt where it feels comfortable for you. It's going to be different for each of us. We're all put together differently. From here, rooting to rise, gaze steady ahead of you. Focus on that flow of breath, a continuous breath. If there's any accommodations you need to make, go ahead. If you want to add on, hands come out in front of you, palms to the sky, and we're lifting the fingertips up, bending through the elbows. Steady yourself within you, but you have the flow of breath here. And now we're lifting from the rooting. Option. This is the inhale. On the exhale, we're drawing the left arm out. Shoulder blade comes towards the spine. And inhaling back to center. Everything in the lower body is as stable as it can be. Gaze can be fixed in front of you, or you can take the gaze back with the movement. Inhaling and exhaling. One more to go. Coming back to center. Hands coming down, great place to stay. Adding on, arms come up, palms towards each other. If you're interlacing your hands opposite, first finger and thumb on top, you can release the first fingers. The more the elbows are bent, the easier it is in the shoulders. Rooting to rise, lifting up from there in your own way. staying within the flow of the breath. Option to stay here. Focused on the flow of breath. 3 breaths. Option to soften the gaze. Close the eyes. Continuous flow of breath within the stillness. You've got 1 more breath to go. On the exhale, blink the eyes open, take the hands down. Hands come to the inside of the front leg, drawing the leg round and back. Any movement you need here to ease through your body. And then knees go a little wider, big toes can come towards each other. You have the option to come into child's pose, hips back towards heels. You can sit on any support you need, supporting your hands up, forearms, fists, palms. Adjust this for yourself. Or the other option is puppy dog pose. Walking the knees back a little, coming down onto forearms, and then taking the fingers out right up onto tense as we come down. Now you can use any support underneath you to support your forehead. Hands can be as wide or as close together as you like. Whatever feels good for you. Active puppy dog pose, you can release those hands and forearms down. And again, the option is to come back to child's pose, your child's pose, your way. And coming back within the flow of the breath. Steady and stable. Staying here for as long as you like, or when you're ready, gently bringing yourselves up to hands and knees, tuck the toes, and in your own way, we'll make our way to standing, taking your time. Mountain pose, feet a comfortable distance apart, rooting to rise. Soft shoulders, palms towards knee. Take a breath in. Exhale it out. And come back to that steadiness of breath. The inhale and the exhale, which is continuous. Feel that flow within you, moving your body in that continuous cycle of breath. On the inhale, we'll draw those arms up overhead, taking the right wrist with the left hand. Right palm faces forward, rooting to rise up and over, shifting the hips towards the right side, breathing steady and fluid breaths, that continuous cycle. And the option is to take the left foot out towards the side, the further your elbows are bent, the easier it is in the shoulders, the more you draw over and lengthen through the right side, the more challenging it is in the shoulders. The breath will guide you. If you lose the breath, come back to center. One more breath here. Coming back up as the left foot comes in, releasing the arms. Roll through the shoulders. Same thing, other side, lifting up. Right hand takes the left wrist, bending through the elbows. On the inhale, we're reaching up and over to the right, opening up through the left shoulder. Steady breath. Continuous cycle of breath, as the option is to take the hip towards the left side. Option is to extend the right foot out to the side. And we're breathing. Steady and smooth. Continuous flow of breath for one more breath. And then on the inhale, we're coming up, right foot's coming in and releasing the hands down. Any movement you need to release tension, go ahead. And we're going to face the front of the mat and coming to the side. Hands to the hips. Rooting to rise. Steady breath. Noticing the flow of breath within every moment. From here, lifting up through the right heel, and then drawing that right foot back on an exhale. Warrior one legs. So the front leg is facing forward, the right toes are off towards the right, and the heel is back. Straightening and flexing into the front knee. And as you do that, you might want to change up your foundation. Next time we come forward and dip into the front knee, we're drawing the right shoulder forward. And right there, you may feel sensation through the front of the hip, the knee, the ankle. So readjust your stance as you square up the shoulders. Inhaling, lengthening the front knee, exhaling, dipping into it. Once again, feeling into this space. The next time you come forward, we stay. Option to always shift and change things. Hands to the hips, rooting down, spreading the weight through both feet evenly, so it's not just the front foot that's taking the weight, but push back into the heel. So we strengthen and stabilize through the lower body. Option to stay here. Option to bring the arms up where we were in the low lunge. With your breath, you're going to open up through the right arm and draw it back to center. Flowing with your breath. Lower body, just like in the low lunge, is stable and steady. You can always stay with your hands on the hips. 2 more to go, rooting down through both feet. Last one. As we come forward, hands come to the hips, straighten through the front leg. Arms come up, palms towards each other. Interlace the hands if you want. First fingers come up and we reach. Option to stay here. Option to deepen into warrior one legs. Bending through the front knee. Both feet are taking your weight distribution and the breath is steady. Flowing breath within stillness. Option is to close the eyes. 3 breaths. Root down through the foundation, lift from there. Stay within the continuous flow of breath. Stay for the last breath. On that last exhale, eyes float open, Hands come down. Lift up through the right heel and drawing forward. Hula hoop through the hips in your own way to release any tension. And we're coming to the other side. So I'm going to come to this side, rooting down through your feet, hands to the hips, settling the breath. Continuous flow of breath within every moment. Lifting up through the left heel, and then we're coming back, taking the left foot back, warrior one stance. And we're going through the same thing as the other side. So we're bending and flexing that front knee, straightening, just adjusting things for you. Left heel is back behind the toes. So you've got that internal rotation as we're squaring up the shoulders when you're ready. So dipping into the front knee, equal distribution through the feet, and then drawing the shoulders square. And as you do that, there's a really good chance you want to change up that foundation somehow to accommodate for your body. Option to stay here. You can always flow, straightening and bending into the front knee, or as we're here, fixing the gaze, equal distribution of weight, flow within the breath. Hands come up, option. With the breath, we're flowing, opening up. Maybe even the gaze comes back behind you and closing it down with the breath. Finding that flow within the breath, the flow within the movement. We have stillness and flow. Another 3. Taking the gaze with you. If you want to challenge yourself or fixing your gaze. Last one. Staying here or hands to the hips. Straighten the front leg. Option to stay here. Option to float the arms up. First finger and thumb, cross over the opposite ones if you've got the hands interlaced or palms towards each other, and release the fingers or the knuckles up towards the sky. The more the elbows are bent, the easier it is in the shoulders. And then the option is to dip into that right knee. Equal distribution of your feet, and the steadiness of the flow of breath. Staying here, 3 breaths, option to soften the gaze, close the eyes, dip into your foundation. Find the flow within the stillness. More or less 1 more breath. Stay for the exhale, release the hands, open the eyes, straighten the front leg. When you're ready, stepping forward. And then just allow those arms to sway side to side. You can bend through the knees, take the gaze with you, anything you need. And then coming back to stillness. Hand to the belly, hand to the heart. Take a breath in. Exhale it out. Another few of those, and then we let the breath settle. That continuous flow of breath within us. Stay here for as long as you like, or I'll meet you down on the floor. Thank you for joining me on the floor. We're going to come all the way down onto our back. Knees to the sky, feet to the floor, bringing with you any comfort you need for your body. And from here, The right knee draws in. Give yourself a little hug. Circling through that right ankle, one direction, with that flow of breath within you, that continuous flow. And allow the expression of that ankle circling to be within that cycle of breath. And then we'll come back in the opposite direction when you're ready. Come back to stillness and find that flow. The breath, the continuous breath. Drawing the right ankle over the top of the left leg. Flow of breath. And the further the left heel is away from you, the easier that will be on your right hip. The closer the heel is to your seat, then the more challenging it'll be in your hip. So you get to play around with that. Within that flow of breath, option to draw the left thigh in towards your ribs. You can take the side of the thigh, back of that knee, or in front of that shin, depending on what the length of your bones allows you to get hold of. A little flex in that right ankle is going to help you protect the right knee. And if the left foot is up off the floor, another little flex in that ankle also. Stay within the flow of breath, even and steady, and notice sensation here in your body. Notice if you need to back off and release a little bit or deepen into it. Steady and smooth. You can stay here. The option is to extend up the left leg towards the sky. The further away from you that left thigh is, the easier it is on the right hip. The more you draw it in, the more challenging it's going to be. You can reach over behind the back of your shin, maybe up towards your ankle, maybe even on your foot. Maybe nowhere near. If you have a strap handy, you can always take the strap over the ball of the foot, the widest part. And the option is here to stay. The option is to release the leg, push the left leg away from you with the right ankle, and return that resistance with the left leg. Heel can come down, knee height, that's going to make it a little easier, and we stay here. Thread the needle in that dynamic tension without the arms. Steady breath. Flow within stillness. So that flow of the breath is still, stable and steady. The resistance is up to you. It can be very little, it can be a whole lot. You can change it up. And then on the exhale, I'm going to release that left foot down to the floor wherever you are. Take a breath in. Exhale it out as we release the right leg. Left leg draws in, give it a little hug. Within the flow of breath, we're circling through that left ankle. And then back in the opposite direction. From there, crossing over the left ankle on top of the right leg. Left ankle is flexed to support and help the left knee. Again, you can take that right heel away from you. That's going to make it easier in that left hip. We'll draw it closer. Great place to stay right here. Continuous breath within what it is you're experiencing. And the option is to draw that right thigh in towards the ribs. So we're bringing it up, flexing that ankle, side of the thigh, underneath that knee or in front of the shin, and that really just depends on the length of your bones. Flow of breath. And where the breath is not flowing, back off, do a little less. Option to stay here, option to extend the right leg up towards the sky. Take hold of the back of that thigh, back of the calf, ankle, foot. And again, you have the option of the strap if you have anything like that handy. Great place to stay right here. And the option is to keep this but add dynamic tension. So the left foot is pushing against the right thigh is drawing back. You can release the hands. Drawing the heel down to knee height will make it probably feel like you have a little more control over it, but you get to decide whether that's true for you or not. And the tension you build up here is up to you. It can be a lot, it can be a little. You can take that foot down to the floor again, but the breath is that flow of breath. Notice your experience of it here. Another couple of breaths, flowing, the flow, that continuous flow of breath within the stillness. On the next exhale, we're taking the right foot down and releasing the left leg. Inhaling and exhaling. One last movement here as we're taking the feet a little wider and then allowing the knees to flow from side to side with your breath. And keeping the back of the pelvis on the floor. Any SI joint issues, that's where you're going to stay. If it feels good to you, you can start to take the knees a little further, but only if that supports what you're feeling in your body. Anything that's uncomfortable or twinging here, please stay with the back of the pelvis, rooted to the floor, just flowing through the hips. You can take the gaze away from those knees and allow the opposite hip to lift as the top knee draws in. You get to choose. But again, that continuous flow of breath within the movement. And then we'll come all the way up to center. Knees draw in, and once again, any intuitive movement side to side, you can roll front and back through the spine. Anything that feels good to you, it's going to feel different for each of us. And then when you're ready, allowing your body to come to a place of stillness, your relaxation, your shavasana, settling yourself in. Taking a full breath in wherever you have chosen to be, and exhale that out. And with every exhale, releasing down into that support just a little more. And as the breath settles back into its own natural, easy rhythm, notice that continuous, gentle breath. How the inhale slides gently into the exhale. And so on and so forth in that continuous cycle. And every time a thought draws you away, simply firmly guide your awareness back to that continuous cycle of soft breath. Continuous breath in and out. Every time distraction comes up, just firmly back to that flow within you. staying for as long as you like here, or starting to notice the support underneath you. Expanding those continuous breaths to be a little deeper on the inhale, a little softer on the exhale. Gently awakening your body in your own way with your gentle movements. And bringing yourself to a place where you would like to finish up your practice. Bringing your hands in a gesture that suits you today to end with. Following that flow in of breath, allowing the exhale to draw your chin down towards your chest, soften your gaze or close your eyes. And tapping back into that flow within. Thank yourself for your practice. From my heart to yours. Namaste.